Welcome to BizJet TV. My name is Fabrizio. Today's episode is focused on flight safety, or on this channel because you're thinking about buying a private jet or maybe leasing one. Today we're going to be talking about this accident that just recently happened in California, and we're going to sort of analyze what we can with the data that we have right now. And I think I've sort of pinpoint a lesson that we can learn here regarding pilot training. You're buying the jet, as I always say, is one element of your whole private jet operations, but the pilots and the training of the pilots is really important, and you're going to see more about this in this particular episode. If you haven't subscribed to BizJet TV, please do so. This is all about private aviation, lots of content here to educate you about how the private jet is a great business tool, and also lots of other videos here on the future of aviation and electrical vertical takeoff and landing, and lots of other interesting stuff also about space travel and whatnot, and anything that flies that can help you that flies and can help you with your business, we talk about here on BizJet TV basically. So give us a thumbs up at the end of the video and comment below. We love to hear your comments and suggestions and recommendations. Let's get into today's episode about this Challenger 605 crash and the lesson that we can learn from this. Off we go. So today we're going to look at a recent crash of a Challenger 605 that crashed in Truckee Tahoe Airport in California, which is up in the mountains at 5,890 feet elevation. This happened on the 27th of July 2021. First of all, condolences to those that lost loved ones and friends in this crash. Now we're going to look at this crash and see what we can learn. Now, it's still early days, but from the data that we've already collected, it does give us a bit of an indication of what was going on. So, first of all, when you're going into an airport in a mountainous region like this, and you're going to do what's called a circle to land. A circle to land basically means is you're coming in from one runway, and then at a certain altitude you break off. So let's say the runway's here. You're coming in, and you break off, round, and then land. Now the reason for doing that is because there's an approach on one end, and there isn't an instrument approach on the other. For example, in this case, the runway is longer coming in from doing the circle to land. It was 7,000 something feet. Well, it's 4,500 feet, I think, on the other end. So the pilots were coming in for runway 20, and they're going to circle to land for runway 11. Now, when I was flying with the airlines, one of the airlines I flew with, we did a lot of these circle to lands, and we trained in the simulator. We had a certain way of doing it, and both pilots were briefed. We were trained to do these flights, these approaches together as a team, and also on your own if suddenly one of the other pilots was incapacitated. So you were trained to do this, and we had a particular system that we followed, but we did them continuously. Now when you're flying a private jet, you don't always go into certain airports, and I don't know if these pilots were familiar with this particular airport, if they were familiar with circle to land approaches, how many they'd done in the past, had they been trained a certain way. But looking at the way they conducted themselves in the initial parts of the approach, that's telling me that they weren't well trained for this type of approach in this type of mountainous region. So if we look at the approach plate, they were coming in for this circle to land, and according to the flight radar information that we have, when they came on over the point which is called Avigo, and they were over Aviga, they were over Aviga to enter the hold, and they entered the hold at 370 knots, which is far too high. You shouldn't be flying that fast. When they left Aviga to start the approach, they reduced the speed to 300 knots, but they were still 1,700 feet higher than what they should have been. So here they're high, they're fast. Their rate of descent was 2,750 feet per minute, which again, it's too much of a high rate of descent, but I can understand because they're 1,700 feet high, fast. So they probably pulled the speed brakes out to get the rate of descent going down without increasing the speed too much and bleed some of the speed off. So this is the situation they're in. And if you get into a situation like that, you get in a situation like that because you haven't planned properly before. So planning and briefing beforehand, and you do that before you even start your descent. The pilot flying will look at the approach plate, he will talk to the pilot non-flying, they will discuss everything, what speeds they're going to fly for the approach, and how they're going to fly the approach, and who's going to be doing what. And that's all done at cruising altitude. So the fact that they're coming in so fast, and also listening to the pilot over the radio, he sounded very relaxed and confident, which, when you're doing an approach like this, you need to be focused and you haven't got much time to sort of be relaxed over the radio. You want to be very brief and then just keep, and the guy doing the radio is not the guy flying. It's the pilot flying is doing the flying. The guy on the radio is watching the guy that's flying. So he'll be watching out, watching in, watching and make sure that the guy's flying the right speed. If he's not, tell him so. So the fact that they were, came in a bit high in that, and the pilot's voice was, I don't know, maybe his situational awareness because of lack of training, and he thought he was doing the right thing. But it sounded to me it was a bit hairy the way they were conducting this approach. So they came in, they broke off to the right to come round for this left downwind to come in from runway 11. And witnesses on the ground said they saw the airplane bank left and then crash into the ground. So they may have had the spoilers still deployed and forgot to put the spoilers back in. And as they turned, the aircraft got really slow on the speed and it stalled at low altitude. This is certainly what looks like happened here. They had a stall at low altitude and crashed into the ground. Now, when you're doing these approaches in a jet, circle to land, you're near the ground, you've got mountains, you've got to be very, very focused. Things happen very, very quickly. And this is, again, why training is so important. Because you've got to have a plan. And, as I've always told people that have flown with me, and I've been trained this way, the 5 Ps, prior planning prevents poor performance, the 5 Ps. And so it doesn't look to me that the prior planning was done, but, is it the pilot's fault? It's probably due to the training. So let's go back to training. Now, when you buy a private jet and you spend 20 million on a jet, you've got to get the pilots trained in a certain way. And if you're going into these airports, which are a bit difficult, give your pilots extra time in the sim. Say to them, look, if you think, well, not if you think, just say to your pilots, look, I'm budgeting, how much is the training in the simulator this year? Oh, it's $25,000. How much training are you doing? Okay, I want you to increase the training by 30% or 40% or 50% or even double the amount of training you do. So I'm giving you more budget for training. And what I want you to do is I want you to, train certain scenarios, particularly if you're going to be going into these mountainous airports and whatever. Do this extra training. What's it cost you? A fraction of what the airplane has cost you to buy and what the airplane costs you to operate. But, it will keep you safe. And it's really, really important. So blaming the pilots on this, it's early days yet. But certainly here, I think there's a lack of training in certain areas that has caused this accident and been one of the causes of the accident. Yes, it could have been, the wind is quite tricky in that area. It was high altitude airport, mountainous region. We don't know if the guy sitting in the back, the passenger, was actually pushing them to get in quick, which is why maybe they came in really fast and they were high. Maybe they were being pushed by the passenger. You get a lot of this on private jets. People sitting in the back have got a lot of money, and so they think that they own everything. They can buy everything. And if you want to hear more about an incident that happened to me, you can click on the video at the end of this one, when about me flying into St. Moritz many years ago, and what happened in that situation, the lesson that I learned. So I hope this has been of interest to you. Please comment below. I'd like to hear from you. What do you think about this accident? What's your take on it? Any suggestions, recommendations for future videos? If you haven't subscribed to BizJet TV, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel and check this video about what happened to me in St. Moritz many years ago and the lesson that I learned early day in my career as a private jet pilot. That's all from Fabrizio on BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.